Welcome to Inside Sim Racing. I'm Darren Ganji alongside John Sable, and today we are presenting the review of the Fanatec Clubsport Handbrake, and it's available only from Fanatec.com and retails for $99.95 or €129.95, and is currently available for pre-order only with an availability date of February 5th, 2016.
The Fanatec Clubsport Handbrake is potentiometer based and provides an analog input. It can be used on the PC or on the console system. We didn't try it on console because we had it mounted to Darren's PC-based setup. We'll get in touch with Fanatec and find out which titles it's compatible with and do a follow-up video or talk about it on an upcoming episode of This Week Inside Sim Racing. But we do assume that it'll work with Project Cars because you can map a lot of different inputs in that title.
Connection is via the Clubsport V2 or V3 pedals and comes with the cables for either. Optional direct to USB adapter goes for $19.95 or €24.95. You can mount it in two different ways, either horizontally or vertically, but you're going to need a custom option though, since none of the chassis on the market offer a handbrake mount that we know of.
So we tried the handbrake out on Dirt Rally, Live for Speed, and Assetto Corsa, and it performed really well on all three. In fact, there isn't a whole lot to talk about, so we're going to get straight to the pros and cons.
Sounds good. First up, the pros. You can connect direct to Clubsport pedals or via USB with an optional USB adapter. It's reasonably priced, and it's an analog device.
You can mount the handle in different ways, such as vertical or horizontal. It adds immersion with rally or drift titles, and it has a comfortable grip. So now that we're done with the pros, let's move on to the cons. And the first con is the handle has a little bit of flex. And the final con is the mounting options are limited.
So that's going to take us to some final thoughts. And when it comes to rally or drifting, an analog handbrake is a must to get the most out of your experience. Compared to having to press a button or use a shifter the way it wasn't intended, a handbrake like this can make all the difference in the world. Getting proficient or comfortable with a handbrake can take a lot of practice, but once mastered, it's a must-have for rally and drifting.
The handbrake isn't the highest end handbrake on the market, but it gets the job done. Sure, you can get a load cell or hydraulic setup, but do you really need to be spending in the $250 to $400 range to do so? I guess it depends on how much drifting or rallying you're doing.
Yeah, and I think for either one of us, we're not doing that much on that form of racing or drifting, styling, however you want to call it, but I guess if we were really starting to get into rally, I might want to consider a load-based or a hydraulic-based, but this thing totally gets the job done for what we're doing.
It does. I mean, yeah, it's how often do we play a rally title, and then, there's some...
How often do you use it in the rally title?
Exactly. There's stages where you don't even necessarily have to use a handbrake at all.
Yeah.
But when you do need to use it, it's really valuable to have.
Yeah, and some of those really tight hairpins where you really gotta, 180 it, to get around some of those corners, just going in with your brakes, even if you set your brake bias back, going in with just brakes and downshifting, it's going to slow you down. I mean, it really will pitch the car around, and a lot of times it just takes a flick of the wrist. Just a little flick on the handbrake, and it just gets those tires locked up enough just to pitch the car. I've found too much is too much. Too much handbrake, you can go full 360. So anyway, like we said, it takes a lot of practice to be proficient with it, but when you become proficient, man, it really can make a difference, especially in drifting though too. If you're really into drifting, you really need an analog handbrake because you really need to get that car pitched.
Exactly, and like we said, this handbrake at $100 gets the job done.
It does. Yeah, and like John said, do you really need to spend up to $400 just to get the rear tires to lock up?
Yeah.
Sure, it feels awesome. Some of those look incredible, but I think if I was going to be investing in one of these, I would stick with something along these lines. So we'd like to thank Fanatec for sending us the Clubsport Handbrake, and again, you can get it for about $100 at their site, Fanatec.com. Not available till February of next year, so if you're interested, go ahead and pre-order one and tell them the guys at Inside Sim Racing sent you. So for John Sable, I'm Darren Ganji. Hopefully you've enjoyed this. We'll see you guys next time.